At 19, her hands started to shake. By 28, she couldn't write, could barely feed herself, and walked like she was on a boat deck. Her speech had turned slow and slurred. Doctors watched her walk, listened to her talk, and watched her reach for a cup. Examination findings are wobbly walk plus slurred speech plus tremor that worsens as her hand nears an object. Where's the problem?
So now we have to discuss the applied aspects of cerebellum. So the applied aspects would include the cerebellar function test, that is the test which are used to assess the cerebellar function, means whether there is a cerebellar disease or not. So the very first test is finger nose test. What is asked? The subject is asked to close the eyes. With closed eyes, bring the upper lip and touch the nose with the index finger. You all might have performed this function in the motor system. So finger nose test and finger to nose test, where the subject has to touch his nose first and then examiner's finger with the help of his index finger. So finger nose test and finger to nose test. Then there is adiadochokinesia, that is to perform the rapid pronation and supination of hand. So three tests: finger nose test, finger to nose test, and adiadochokinesia. Fourth is finger to finger. That is your subject is asked to bring the arm to the side and then bring the tip of index together through a forward arc. Okay. Then there is the another test is heel to knee test. You have to place the heel of one leg at the knee of other leg and slowly move it along the medial border to the heel and back to the knee. Okay, that is the heel to knee test. I hope that in the motor system you have performed all these tests. And then walking on a straight line. Okay, so walking on a straight line is one of the cerebellar function tests. Any deviation from the straight line during walking is suggestive of a cerebellar lesion. Then another is the rebound. हेलो गेट खुला है. हाँ. Okay, so there was another query from a student, how to write about the applied aspects of cerebellum. So cerebellar tests, cerebellar function tests, or the tests which are used for assessing whether the cerebellum is working properly or not. So it is also known as the cerebellar function test. In the motor system examination, you all must have gone through these tests. So first is the finger nose test. Okay, in the finger nose test, the subject with closed eyes is asked to bring the upper limb rapidly and touch the nose with the help of the index finger. So that is a finger nose test. Then finger to nose test. इसमें क्या होता है, you have to asking the subject to touch his own nose first and then examiner's finger with his index finger. That is finger to nose test. Okay. Then what is adiadochokinesia? That is the rapid pronation and supination of hand. तो तीन टेस्ट इजी वाले कौन से हो गए? फिंगर नोज टेस्ट, फिंगर टू नोज टेस्ट एंड adiadochokinesia. Then another function is what? The finger to finger test. That is the subject is asked to bring the arms to the sides and then bring the tips of index finger together through making a forward arc. What you have to assess whether the person is capable of doing these motor actions or not. And if they are not capable, that means the cerebellar function is not normal. So there is a confirmation of a presence or absence of a cerebellar disease. Now there is a heel to knee test. Heel to knee test is what? You have to place the heel of one leg at the another leg knee. Okay, and then you have to slowly move that leg along the medial border to the heel and then back to the knee. So this is how the heel to knee test takes place. Sixth is what? Walking on the straight line. You have to ask the subject to walk on a straight line, and if there is any deviation from the straight line during walking, it is suggestive of a cerebellar lesion. Now there is another test, that is the rebound phenomenon. How this takes place? You have to ask the subject to flex his forearm against the resistance. You are offering the resistance, and the subject is flexing his forearm. And when the resistance is suddenly removed, what will happen? If the patient is having a cerebellar dysfunction, the patient cannot break the movement. Once the resistance has been removed, ideally the subject should break the movement, but it cannot break the movement, and the forearm flies and strikes the face. If this happens, it is a sign of rebound phenomenon, which is seen classically in cerebellar dysfunction. So in the applied aspect, first you have to describe about the test, the cerebellar function test, and in case any clinical scenario comes, and how to confirm that whether there is a cerebellar dysfunction or not, then you have to write the names of these tests, these cerebellar function tests. Now we come to the cerebellar diseases. Okay, cerebellar diseases is what? There is involvement of cerebral cortex either or one or more deep cerebellar nuclei. What are the deep cerebellar nuclei? Dentate nucleus, nucleus fastigius, and the nucleus interpositus, that is emboliformis, and nucleus globose. So if any of the involvement of either the cerebellar cortex or one or more deep cerebellar nuclei, it is going to result in a cerebellar disease, or you can say cerebellar lesion or a cerebellar dysfunction. What you exactly see here, no muscle paralysis is observed. Obviously it is not directly connected to the pyramidal system, so no muscle paralysis or no sensory loss occurs in a cerebellar dysfunction. Okay, so that is a classical thing. Now what are the features, what are the observations you will find in a cerebellar disease? First is ataxia, right? That is the incoordinate movement due to defect in the control of range, direction, rate, and timing of movement, right? So all these programming, planning, determining the range, direction, rate, and sequences of the movement, that is all under the control of the cerebrocerebellum. In case of cerebellar diseases, what will happen? This programming, timing, scaling, all these things will not take place. So ataxia will be observed, and we know that is a motor ataxia. Even with the open eyes, the person will show incoordinate movements. Then what is asynergia? There is no synergism between the agonist and antagonist muscles, so that what we observe is asynergia. So ataxia, asynergia. Now what is normal synergism? When the agonist is contracting, the antagonist should ideally relax. That is a normal synergism. But if there is no synergism between agonist and antagonist, that is asynergia, and that is observed in cerebellar dysfunction. Now another feature is what? The dysmetria or past pointing. Now what is dysmetria or past pointing? That is the inability to control the range or the extent of the movement. Okay, so that is the range or the extent of the movement you cannot control. So metria means the distance, right? So distance is what? The if you're not capable of controlling the range or extent of the movement, means how far you have to go or how less you have to go. You cannot manifest that. That is past pointing. Now, what is the example is that when a patient is trying to touch an object, okay, there is overshooting, right? There is overshooting, that is what we calling as past pointing. He cannot exactly reach to touch that object because of dysmetria and past pointing phenomenon. Then there is adiadochokinesia or dysdiadochokinesia, that is inability to perform the rapid alternate opposite movement. This is rapid supination and pronation of arm. That is adiadochokinesia or dysdiadochokinesia. Now, another important feature is the drunken gait or the staggering gait. Okay, what is drunken gait? The patient is walking on a broad base, right? The patient is walking on a broad base. There's a specific posture. The head is rotated and flexed towards the side of lesion. So the patient is showing drunken gait or staggering gait. That's what we describe the gait as. There is a broad base. Okay, they are walking with a broad base means the legs are wide apart and there is a specific posture. Whatever is the side of the lesion, towards that the head is rotated and flexed. Now another thing that we see is the slurred speech. There is slurring of speech. Slurring of speech means due to dysarthria. Obviously, the muscles of articulation, they are also disordered. Their coordination has gone. So, incoordination of the muscles of articulation will result in slurred speech. Some words or syllables are spoken loud and others are spoken in a very weak tone. And then some are held for long period and some are spoken short. So there is slurring of speech because of incoordination of the muscles of articulation. Then most importantly, there are intention tremors or action tremors, right? In case of basal ganglia lesion, we have resting tremors, but in case of cerebellar lesions, we have intention tremors or action tremors. What is the characteristic feature? They are absent at rest. Okay, at rest they'll disappear, but they appear whenever the patient will try to perform some voluntary action, right? If at all the patient performs some voluntary action, the tremors will come. So they are intention tremor and they are completely absent at rest. Now, if you see the rebound phenomenon, I have told you that against resistance, and say suddenly the resistance is removed, the patient cannot stop the movement abruptly, and they may hit his face, right? So that is a rebound phenomenon that is also shown in case of cerebellar dysfunction. Now we have the decomposition of movements. What do you understand by decomposition? Patient is not able to perform actions involving simultaneous movement and more than one joint, right? So movements are broken into components, right? The movement is decomposed, loss of smooth progression of one movement to another, राइट तो साइमल्टेनियसली मूवमेंट जब करना है एक से ज्यादा जॉइंट के साथ तो वो एक साथ हो नहीं पाता है ना एक जॉइंट के मूवमेंट का दूसरे जॉइंट के मूवमेंट तक स्विच होना या स्मूथ प्रोग्रेशन इज नॉट पॉसिबल सो मूवमेंट इज डिकम्पोज यू कैन सी इट इज ब्रोकन इनटू स्मॉल पार्ट्स which are taking place in a very incoordinated fashion, that is decomposition of movements. Another thing is nystagmus, right? So as we know that the control of gaze is one of the important function of cerebellum. Nystagmus takes place in case of a cerebellar lesion, that is the rhythmic rapid movement of eyeballs. So whenever the eyeballs are focused on one side, right? So there will be starting of the rhythmic rapid movement. So cerebellum has a damping action which is disturbed, right? Damping action. Damping is retarding. So this retarding function is affected. So nystagmus takes place. Now another important thing is what? That is the pendular knee jerk. Pendular knee jerk is what? Due to the loss of the damping function of the intermediate zone of the cerebellum, you will observe a phenomenon that is known as the pendular knee jerk. Okay, there will be occasionally there will be knee jerks. Then hypotonia. Hypotonia is what? There is a loss of excitatory action of the cerebellum on the muscle tone and stretch reflex. Right? So control of muscle tone and stretch reflexes is also one of the important function of cerebellum. And since there is a cerebellar lesion, there will be loss of excitatory action of the cerebellum. So there will be low tone and therefore there will be hypotonia. So these are 11 features are seen in case of a cerebellar disease. You can see first is the ataxia, asynergia, dysmetry and pass pointing, adiadochokinesia, drunken gait, slurred speech, intention tremors, rebound phenomenon, decomposition of movements, nystagmus and pendular knee jerks and hypotonia. So in case of a clinical scenario, all these characteristic features will be given to you. You have to identify the cerebellar lesion. You may confuse a cerebellar lesion with a Parkinson's disease, but if you understand the most important difference, that is the resting tremor and the intention tremor, you can easily you can easily differentiate whether it is a case of cerebellar dysfunction or it is a case of basal ganglia or a Parkinson's disease. And obviously if they're asking about the cerebellar function test, you should know the names of these tests. At least 4 to 5 names should be known to you, and if you can remember all these, it's well and good. So these two things, the test for cerebellar function and the cerebellar dysfunction diseases features, these are all included in the applied aspects of the cerebellum. So okay, thank you.